Stories impacting Montrealers. News impacting Montreal. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
You may have been touched to read about the untimely death of a 15-year-old girl and her dad in a fire believed to be extortion linked. It happened in May in Val-d'Or. This 15-year-old girl and her dad, who was 42, both died after someone torched the apartment building that they were living in. The grandparent of Mia Bailey is saying it was barbaric what happened to his granddaughter and his son-in-law, and is calling on, I guess, authorities and the population to wake up to just how violent criminal gangs are getting, especially when it comes to extortion and the use of arson as an intimidation tactic. Now, I guess the question is, will the death of Mia Bailey become kind of like the Daniel Desrochers death that galvanized the population and authorities to address the biker gang wars back in the 1990s? If you remember, at the time in Quebec, the Hells Angels locked into a huge turf war with rival biker gangs. There were killings all the time. And for this little boy in the central part of Montreal, all he was doing was walking down a street, and a car bomb was set off near him, and a piece of shrapnel hit him in the head and killed him. Daniel Desrochers was just 11 when that happened in 1995, and that led to a massive crackdown on organized crime, on the biker gangs here, to the point where the Hells Angels were basically kicked out of the province until fairly recently. Just, in recent years have they started to come back in. Here to help us understand more about whether this would happen and whether this would have an effect on these extortion rackets is Pietro Poletti. He is a retired Montreal Police detective and considered an expert on the underworld. Pietro, thanks for joining us on CJAD.
Good afternoon. I'd like to express my condolences to the family of the 15-year-old.
Yeah, I understand.
So sad.
It is, and it is not yet clear exactly what that extortion link may have been. We don't still have a lot of details. Do you remember the Daniel Desrochers case when you were working with Montreal Police, Pietro?
Yes, I was on the Wolverine squad. I was I just started on the Carcajou.
Yeah.
That was a turning point. Legislators put their foot down. But I think we have a different phenomenon now in Canada and Quebec and Ontario especially.
So what is going on?
Well, in the last 10 years with the influx of immigration, we always hear the rhetoric of Vito Escudo would be around or the bikers. No, times have changed. Even if he would be around today, or he would be overwhelmed. He wouldn't have control because there's so many new gangs that have risen or have started, thousands. And look, if we look at Ontario and Brampton or Surrey, BC, and Vancouver, it's totally out of control. The gangs, they don't really care about the mafia, traditional organized crime. They don't care about the bikers. They don't even know what they are. They don't even know what the mafia is. So it's the newly arrived or different culture and the different ethics. And I think the legislators have to put their foot down at a national level and put a stop to this.
I've also heard tell from some analysts that the street gangs, which are a lot of young, and in some cases very young, we're hearing about kids at the age of 14, 15, 16 being arrested for carrying out arson attacks on behalf of street gangs. That they don't seem to have the same old world determination not to have a lot of collateral damage in the general population. That's why I think Daniel Desrochers death was so shocking is because this was an innocent bystander and a child to boot that the bikers allowed to die with the technique.
Exactly.
They favored a lot of car bombs, so they allowed that child to die, and that too was a break with the past, where in general organized crime didn't like that type of bad PR when the violence spills over into the general population. Has that changed as well, Pietro?
You're absolutely right. Well, when it comes to the Danielle Val-d'Or issue, it was a bit different because that as strange as it may sound, it was an accident. You know, he was just an innocent bystander. In this case, with this young girl, 15, she was in the house. There were just thugs that knew there were people in the house and didn't really care. By committing the arson, who was going to die or who was going to survive. And that happened in old Montreal. The same case happened. And we have groups like the Arab Power, the Rolling 90s, the Blues, the Reds, all these East African crime groups, the South Asian groups, who are just totally out of control. And I think law enforcement has to relook at their priorities and put aside, as strange as this may sound, the mafia and the bikers. Or I think they're just waiting for the bikers and the mafia to clean the streets. But that won't happen, even though there's rumors that the Satan's Choice are coming to Montreal and Quebec. But I think it's for law enforcement and legislators to enact laws that gives more power to the police and stop listening to the minority groups and let them do their jobs. And because these people have absolutely no value for life, and they're ready for everything. Prevention does not work. All these programs that we hear about, we're putting money into prevention, that's just an eloquent term to say basically, well, we'll leave it to other people. And I think it's time to step up like they did in 1995 to create a special national force and put a crackdown to these individuals, because, or else Montreal, Toronto will become the Detroit of the North.
Oh, that's a grim forecast, Pietro.
I've been saying this for years, and it's not grim, and it's going to be a hot summer. They're totally out of control, and whenever it frustrates me when I see young people, bystanders or innocent people, just getting killed because of thugs and hoodlums that are roaming the streets.
Well, I do hope that you're wrong about that, but I fear you're right. Pietro Poletti, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Pietro Poletti, retired Montreal Police detective and expert on the mafia.
Close your eyes and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on, and you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the lift off.
Available on iHeartRadio,